Hey, folks, Alan Saunders, joined by Nick Farabaugh on Pittsburgh Sports Live. We're talking the NFL draft. We're going to do this every weekday in the month of April leading up to the NFL draft. And so we're going to start here on Good Friday with some Steelers draft talk. Primarily, we might talk about the greater draft as we go on a bit, but we're going to focus mostly on the Steelers today. And that first pick at number 24, really primarily, Nick, to me, I think the first thing I want to talk about is a lot has changed for the Steelers in terms of their needs since the end of the season. They've lost starting cornerback in Steven Nelson. They've lost an inside linebacker in Vince Williams. It appears they're going to lose running back James Conner, but some other positions seems like maybe not as big of an issue as we thought. They brought back Juju Smith-Schuster, which was a big surprise to me and seemingly has them set at wide receiver. And they were able to re-sign Tyson Alualu and Zach Banner, so seemingly shaping up defensive tackle and offensive tackle, at least for the short term. Just what is your sense of the way their needs have changed, specifically as it relates to that number 24 pick since the end of the season?
Well, I mentioned pro days a lot. We kind of look at how they operate, right? Meetings. We know a lot about that this year. It seems running back is obviously huge, and I think that's been the one big constant, right? We knew running back was a need. I don't think that's changed. But cornerback was something that was maybe a mid-round, late-round need. That's obviously now a huge need. I mean, unless you're trusting James Pierre or Justin Lane to step in there significantly in sub packages because you'd kick Sutton inside.
Both of them, really.
Yeah, really. Like, do you trust them? I mean, I liked what I saw from James Pierre. I did. But, he played 20 snaps. I'm not trusting that. And I didn't think Lane was very good. So it's a huge need there. The biggest change, though, I did not expect them to see going this hard at linebackers. I've noted that they have met with every single significant linebacker. They've been at a lot of their pro days too. JOK's pro day, Parsons pro day. They sent a good contingent to Zaven Collins pro day today. They've been there at the Ohio State guys pro days. I mean, you look at all
Missouri with Bolton too. There's been a bunch.
I mean, you can see just going down the list, they are looking at linebacker as a very significant need. So I think that's been the biggest change for me. I thought more so that was just going to be a mid-round depth thing, and now I can almost see them taking one as early as the first round and maybe cutting off something like maybe a running back until later or something like that. I mean, you could see it happening because they have shown so much interest there. Also edge depth has really taken a hit. I didn't see Ola Adeni leaving. That kind of hit me. They have no depth there now. It's just Cassius Marsh, and they could double down on that. They have enough picks to do it. Maybe a 4th round pick and then maybe a 6th or 7th at edge. But other than that, I mean, wide receiver's gone. You kind of mentioned that. Center's still a huge need with Marquise Pouncey gone. They didn't really do anything to address tight end, so that's still a need. I don't know. The team is like Swiss cheese right now. They have so many needs. You don't know where they're going, man. You don't know where they're going.
Yeah, I think that's also an interesting part of the linebacker discussion, talking about the edge depth, is that a couple of these guys, Owusu Koromoa or maybe Zaven Collins, could theoretically play inside or outside. I think, and so if they're looking at edge depth and inside linebacker as needs, maybe a guy that could do both. Thinking about players that they've had do that, like a Lawrence Timmons mold that played inside and outside for the Steelers is a possibility. Is that a reasonable decision for them to make with this 24 pick, given the needs on offense is to go linebacker? I feel like most of the conversation at the beginning of this offseason was, how do they fix the running game, which they have not done at all. And Art Rooney and Kevin Colbert have both seemed to have said that's a priority for them. And they have not added to the weapons around Ben Roethlisberger at all. And that would seemingly be a reason the guy would want to come back and take a $5 million pay cut.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's kind of the part of it. It's what are you viewing? And my theory is they're a little bit scarred from what happened against Cleveland, because that Cleveland game, they just attacked Robert Spillane. It ends with. And now that's a Steelers schematic problem, but we know Keith Butler's been here for how long and Mike Tomlin's been here for how long. It's not changing, right? It's not going to change at this point. It's been here for a decade. And then Butler, it's been here for over half a decade. So they're going to put linebackers on receivers. And so if you're going to do that, why not get a dude like JOK, who literally is a slot corner linebacker safety hybrid that can do it all, and you won't have to worry about it, right? Because that's not going to be something that you have to worry about anymore. But I don't know if linebacker is. And I almost feel that about running back too. Like, I don't know, linebacker and running back feel like short-term picks in a way. When you could when you're the Steelers right now and you see Ben's deal, it's a 1-year deal with voidable years, and he's probably gone after this year. So you're entering a quasi rebuild, or at very least a retooling period. So why wouldn't you draft something like a cornerback there? A tackle, I think, is still very much a smart decision. There's questions about a core four beyond this year. He's in the last year of his contract. Banner's essentially on a 1-year audition contract. So, I mean, I think there's smarter ways to go about this than going linebacker. But I mean, if it's a JOK type who's like a slot corner, safety, outside linebacker, inside linebacker, that's just a value pick. Like, that's so much you can do with him. And he's a guy that you probably get a second contract with, because he's everything. I mean, he's everything. So if you're smart enough to know how to use him with Devin Bush, I think it's worth it. But he's like the one guy I think is worth it. Outside of that, I wouldn't touch linebacker round one.
I want to talk about running back a little bit, because I wrote today on the site about how, Art Rooney, every time he's talked to the media or the public this offseason, has hammered the need to make the running game better. And yet they haven't. You could make an argument, I think a very good argument, that it's worse right now than it was at the season, without James Conner, without Marquise Pouncey, without Alejandro Villanueva, Matt Filer, Vance McDonald. The team's best blocking tight end is gone. I mean, if they had to field a team right now and say, go run the ball, I can't think they'd be better than they were last year. They'd be worse. And so I think there's this, obviously, the blocking goes into it a lot in tackle and tight end, and really center and guard too, although those are probably not options for the first pick, are definitely needs. Does this team need one of these top running backs? Do they need ETN or Harris or Javonte Williams? Can they get an improvement from a running back after those top guys?
My thought is that there's enough. It's not a really good running back class. We have to be real here. It's not a good running back class. If you're looking for a lead feature back, there's guys that can be number twos like Michael Carter, Jamar Jefferson. All these are guys that I met with the Steelers, but you kind of feel they're on the back burner. Gainwell, guys like that, right? But there are a few guys. Trey Sermon's there, Khalil Herbert's there. They could be lead backs. Ramondre Stevenson from Oklahoma is definitely a guy that looks like a Steelers back. But yeah, if they're getting, if they want a lead back that can carry the rock, be a focal point of the offense, it's got to be one of the top three. It's got to be Javonte, it's got to be ETN, it's got to be Najee. And I think that's what they want, because I just think the Steelers look at that O-line, I think, a little differently than we do. I think they like Banner more than we do. I mean, we've heard the endorsements that Banner has said. I think I'm not sure if they like Chukwueze for. I think they definitely have at least some confidence in him. Otherwise, they wouldn't be penciling him in. And plus, they've only signed depth guys. They've signed Joe Hagan, Rashad Coward, who are glorified depth at that point. And I think they're setting themselves up for center on day 2. So yeah, I mean, at this point, if you're gonna improve that running game and you're the Steelers, and you're clearly not going to draft a tackle that early, because I don't see them, viewing tackles, a lot of big tackles. They've visited, I think, Eichenberg, Leatherwood, and Mayfield, their pro days. At least Tomlin and Colbert have been there. So it's not like they've shown, an overwhelming interest. They weren't even at Darisaw's pro day, which is interesting to note.
I don't think they were with Tevin Jenkins either.
Yeah, no, they weren't. They weren't at Tevin Jenkins. I know Tony Pauline said that they had a lot of interest in him, Tevin Jenkins, but I don't know how much validity that holds. There's just so much pointing in the other direction of a tackle early. So you can improve the run game at that point, not draft a tackle early. I mean, it's got to be an early running back and an early center. That's the only thing I can say. And then just couple that with the schemes that Matt Canada is going to bring and hope it gets better at that point.
Obviously, this has been a big point of discussion in the league for a number of years, is the value of the running back position and the individual players at it. It certainly seems like, none of these guys are going to get taken highly in the draft. Is 24 an appropriate place for you to be taking a running back? Should they be thinking about trading down if that's what they feel is their biggest need.
I think they should. If they want ETN especially, trade down a few spots. I think there's no one between 24 and 32 that strikes me as a threat for Travis Etienne, other than maybe the Buccaneers. So if you trade down maybe 6-7 spots, get another day 2 pick out of that. You can get a few other picks. They need as much draft capital as they can get. They have so many depth needs at this point. So why not do it? Maybe get ETN at, I don't know, let's say 30. Maybe you get the Bills to come up for an edge rusher because they need pass rush help. You get the Packers to come up for Rashad Bateman or someone on a receiver. They want to get someone for Aaron Rodgers. There's a lot of teams at that back end, or the Chiefs come up for a lineman that they need to protect Mahomes, right? I mean, there's levels to this. There's very much real scenarios where you can trade back and get ETN at 30, 31. I just don't like sitting at 20, 24 and taking one. I don't see the value, specifically Najee Harris, because he's 23 already. He's got a lot of tread on the tires. So that's probably a one contract back you're having right there in Najee Harris. And I know the Steelers are in like this kind of win now, kind of not win now mode, but Najee doesn't fit anything because by the time you're already back and Ben's gone and you have the quarterback and then you have everything around that quarterback, I mean,
then
Najee's
he's
going to
27
be
and you're wondering about a 5th-year option.
Exactly. Like,
right. I mean, like by 28, half the running backs in the league are done.
Yeah, unless Najee's built and has the longevity like Derrick Henry does, which I don't think he does because he has tread on those tires already. He took a lot of.
I mean, Derrick Henry did too at this point, but he's clearly an exception to the rule there for sure.
That dude is built like different. He literally the definition of built different. Is Derrick Henry, and Najee's just not like that. Najee's more like a Lev Bell, a Matt Forte type. Doesn't mean he can't be productive into his early 30s. I think he can be. The question is he going to be a star running back into his 30s? I don't think so. Is he going to be a star back even at 29? I don't know. I mean, look at Ezekiel Elliott at this point. He's certainly not what he was when he came out. And that was only 5-6 years ago. So, I mean, running backs break down. And ETN is younger. Javonte Williams might be the ideal pick here because he's only 20 and has almost no tread on his tires. So maybe you get more gain out of Javonte Williams long term. But like it feels like they're in on Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, and both of those guys feel like they're a one contract type of back. And by the time you're competitive, these are guys already that you're going to be like, why did we do that? We didn't get the value out of them.
Good stuff, Nick. We're going to keep this conversation rolling. If you guys have a specific topic you'd like me and Nick to talk about, leave a comment and we'll try to get to it, whether that's tomorrow or the next show that we're able to do. And then we'll keep this going next week as we continue our build up to the 2021 NFL draft. And of course, all my and Nick's coverage can be found at SteelersNow.com. Thanks for watching Pittsburgh Sports Live's Draft Talk, and we'll see you next time.